Hi math students! This is going to be a short video introducing how we solve inequalities. To begin, I want to compare what you already know, how to solve equations, with what we're going to be doing today. For example, if you had a two-step equation like this, lots of times we draw our line at the equal sign so we can see the two sides of the equation, and then we've learned we always start with our constant. Our constant is minus 3, so I do the opposite, which is plus 3 on both sides. By doing that, negative 3 plus 3 is 0, so they cancel out, and I have my new equation, 4x equals 17 plus 3, or 20. After that, my second step is to get rid of my coefficient, that number in front of x. We know 4x means 4 multiplied by x, so I do the opposite. I divide, and I divide both sides by that coefficient, by 4. If I do that, 4 divided by 4 gives me 1x, which is the same thing as x, and 20 divided by 4 gives me 5. And so we have our answer, x equals 5. When you solve inequalities, you do the exact same thing. So if I wanted to solve this inequality, if you like drawing that line at your equal sign, you can draw a line at your inequality sign. And all of the steps are the same. Even though it's not an equation, we still begin with our constant. If our constant is minus 3, we still add 3 on both sides, and it gives us all the same things. The only difference is instead of 4x equals 20, it now says 4x is greater than 20. And then for the last step, it's the same thing. 4x still means multiplication, so I still do the opposite and divide both sides by 4, and we get x and 5. Again, the only difference is instead of equals 5, it's going to say x is greater than 5. We use the exact same steps. That is such great news because you already know how to solve equations, so it means you already know the steps for solving inequalities. Now, even though the steps are the same, what these two answers, our solution, what they mean is really different. When we say x equals 5, we are saying in this equation, the only number x can be is the number 5. We've talked about how this equation means 4 multiplied by what number minus 3 gives you the answer of 17. And our answer means that missing number is the number 5. 4 times 5 is 20, and 20 minus 3 is 17. If you try putting any different number here besides 5, it's not going to give you 17. There is only one solution. There's only one number, and that one number is the number 5. When we say x is greater than 5, that means a lot of different numbers, right? If you say x is greater than 5, for example, x could be the number 6, 7, 10, 100. There's a lot of numbers greater than 5. So when we say x is greater than 5, that solution means something a little different. It still is talking about 4 times what number minus 3 is going to give you more than 17. But now there's a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of different numbers I can put here and have my answer be something more than 17. For example, I could put the number 6 here and get 24 minus 3. Yep, 21 is greater than 17, so that would work. But I could also put numbers like 100 there. 4 times 100 minus 3. That's definitely going to be more than 17. 4 times 100 is 400, and 400 minus 3, that's 397, which is definitely greater than 17. So when we say x is greater than 5, there are many solutions. There's many possibilities. It just has to be any number that's bigger than 5. Now up here I said solving equations and solving inequalities, they're the same steps. There is one important thing though we need to know when you solve inequalities, and that's what we're going to see down here in this last example. I'm going to start it the same way I start my equations. I like drawing a line at my inequality sign, and to start this inequality, what do you think we're going to do first? Well, I want to start by multiplying or distributing 2 with everything in my parentheses. So that gives me 4x is greater than 20 plus 6x. 2 times 10 is 20, 2 times 3x is 6x. After that, what comes next? Well, we've learned you need your variable only on one side, so I'm going to subtract 6x on both sides, and that gives me negative 2x is greater than 20. One step left. What's the last thing I've got to do? This is multiplication, so to get x by itself, I have to divide. I'm going to divide by the number I want to cancel out, which is that negative 2. And so that gives me my x all by itself. This is where it's different. Notice over here we've got this little note here. The one thing that's different about when you solve inequalities is if you multiply or divide by a negative number. Notice right here, I am dividing by a negative number. I divided by negative 2. Up here, I divided by a positive 4, and so it didn't apply up here. But here, I'm dividing by a negative 2, and if you do that, you need to change the inequality sign. Didn't give myself enough room. Change the inequality sign. And so what that means is this inequality here, it is going to change directions. Instead of greater than, it will be less than because we divided by that negative 2. And then to finish off my answer, 20 divided by negative 2 is negative 10. That's the one thing that makes solving inequalities different. So when you go to solve, be careful when you are multiplying or dividing by a negative number because that inequality sign needs to change. Thanks so much for watching this video. You are ready for today's lesson, and I hope you found this helpful. Have a great day.